A long time ago, in the community of Ebema, there was a serious war going on, and all the inhabitants of Ebema were in confusion as to where to run to. They were running helter-skelter. Mothers were running here and there with their children. Some could not find their children. They were looking left and right. Mothers, fathers, everyone was in confusion. Mbechi's husband had traveled and was away when the war started. She was at home with her little girl of 2 months old, Oloma, when the war started. She quickly carried her baby on her back and hurried out of the house, running towards an unknown destination as the others were doing. There were gunshots everywhere, and Mbechi did not know where to go, and so she ran towards the forest as others were doing. It was getting dark. Mbechi could not see ahead, so she stood with the others very close together in the forest. Baby Oloma began to cry. The soldiers were nearby, and those standing by her side told her to cover the baby's mouth with her palm. Mbechi tried to do that, but Oloma kept wailing the more. The gunshots were so close. The baby's cry was so loud that they advised Mbechi to leave the baby nearby in the bush while they all moved to the other side to distract the soldiers and avoid being detected and killed also. They told her as soon as the soldiers had left or passed, they would all come back to the baby and pick the child up. Mbechi was only a young girl of 18. She did not know what she was doing, and she kept the baby as they told her to do. And they all crossed to the other side and stood waiting. Mbechi, as she did as she was told, they kept her until everywhere was silent once more. Then all of them returned back to where the baby had been left. But to their surprise, the child was no longer there. They searched everywhere, but Mbechi's baby could not be found. Oloma was nowhere to be found. Mbechi began to cry. My daughter, my only child. Oh God, what will I tell my husband? Oh Lord, what will I tell my husband? She had lost her baby to the war. On another section of the community, Uzoma and her husband, Enabi, were treading softly in the forest when they heard the sound of her baby crying. Quickly, Uzoma, pick up that baby before these soldiers find us and kill us all. Enabi, her husband, said. They were newly married couples and had no child of their own yet. Uzoma quickly did as her husband said and picked up the little baby. And the baby immediately stopped crying. Good, 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 said her husband. Her mother must have been killed by gunshots from the soldiers. Let's take the baby and look after her meanwhile so that the baby will not die in the forest. Uzoma carried the child on her back. After admiring her, she was a little beautiful girl, and so they moved on. After much of the forest and in unknown lands, the couple Enabi and his wife Uzoma returned home to Ejema, their kingdom, 2 months later when the war was over, with the little baby in their hands. The baby they had picked up in the forest with no knowledge of her parents and background. The two newly married couple had to start making inquiries to find out if anyone had lost their baby so that they could hand over the child to them after being identified as their parent. But no one came forward, and so they were both saddled with the baby, and they treated the child very well like their own. As the child grew up, they named the child Anu because they did not know that the child's name was Oloma as the parents had named her. They gave her Anu as the name. That is mercy. So, the child started to grow up, and the following year, Uzoma took in. And after 9 months, she gave birth to a baby girl. and named her Ada, meaning first daughter. So, as they were all living, Anu was now 2 years older than Ada, and after Ada was born, things changed in the household. Ozioma, on seeing her own daughter now growing, started to hate and maltreat Anu. She treated Anu in such a bad way that people could not help but notice. She would tell her nonsense words that touched the soul and made Anu cry. Sometimes she would say, "Get out here, you orphan, you child picked from the forest, abandoned child, wicked child. They killed your mother and left you alone in the forest. Had it been you are a lucky child, your mother would have still been alive. Come on, get out of here, you dirty girl." Sometimes she will not give her food. Many times the child will walk and sleep with empty stomach. And Anu will be crying, "Mother, father, why did you leave me alone to die in the forest?" She will cry loudly. From what she had heard from people that she was picked up in the forest, she would cry. Why her parents had left her alone? They would have all died together. People heard her talking while crying will wipe away 1 or 2 tears as they walked past. When Anu became 12 years old and Ada was 10, their mother said it was time for Anu to get married and get out of the house because she was tired of taking care of Anu all those years. "Let's get her married so that I can have some peace with my own children in my home," she said to her husband one morning. "But she's still too young to get married. She's just 12 years old," replied her husband, staring at her in a strange manner. No, she's not too young," replied Ozioma, his wife. "Ozioma," her husband said courteously, "how can you be this wicked? Someone's child, can you give out your own child at 12 years to get married?" But Ozioma will have nothing of such. She went out with determination, and within 3 months found what she deemed a good match for Anu. She stopped Anu from what she was learning. Anu was learning the art of cloth making. She stopped her from that and started arranging for the marriage. "Get married and get out of my house. I have tried for you," she said. "I've tried all these years, 12 good years, feeding you, taking care of you, ungrateful thing. Get married and go away so that the man will continue to look after you and let it leave my hand, Jare." Ngbechi, Oloma's mother on the other side, went back home to an empty house after the war. And after about 3 months, her husband returned home to find that they had lost their only child to the war. It was a very bitter thing for him. They lived together for more than 5 years before Ngbechi and her husband could start having another set of children. They had 2 more children, and although they were happy to have them, the couple never forgot their first child, Oloma, the first love child they had. Almost every day, the couple would sit and be talking about Oloma. My wife, her husband, would say, "If Oloma were to be here now, she would have been grown up 12 years by now and be a very beautiful young girl." Yes, my husband, Ngbechi, will reply. The couple were a very rich one, and despite their riches, they loved their daughter and missed her very much. "You know, Oloma looked like you," her husband would say. "Yes, my husband," she would reply. "Everyone said she was my replica." That was how it was. They would wonder and sit and cry and ask each other what must have happened to their beloved child. A week to the day of Anu's marriage, the man, the 42-year-old man, to marry her brought money for Ozioma. They had to buy things for her. But Ozioma insisted that Anu would go to the market alone to to buy herself what she wanted to wear. Ozioma split the money. The wicked Ozioma split the money into two. The money is too much for you, little girl, to buy something with, she will say. She split the money and gave Anu half to go to the market to buy things for herself. Anu was crying as she went to the market, but she did not know what to buy. She had not been going to the market and buying things on her own like that before, but she used her discretion and went on. What was the point of being happy that I have money in my hands to buy clothes for myself for the first time? Married at 12 to a man of 42 years, she wondered. 30 years older than myself, she thought sadly. She had cried and prayed for a miracle to occur that would save her from getting married at such a young age. But there was no answer yet. There was no breast even on her chest. So what would a man want to do with me, she thought. While she was pricing the cloth material in a store, the woman selling the clothes was just looking at her in a strange way. Anu noticed it, and she could not understand it all. She felt embarrassed and was about leaving when the woman beckoned on her and said, "I'm sorry, my dear. Don't be angry that I'm staring at you in such a manner. But you look like a woman that lives very close to my house in my village." "Oh," Anu exclaimed. "Okay, ma. I now understand why you were looking at me in that way. You look exactly like her," the trader put in. "Really?" asked Anu. The cloth seller said, "I'm sorry to ask, but can I know your family?" "My family comes from Ejima, the next village, but it's a long story, ma," she replied sorrowfully. "Oh, why are you so sorrowful?" asked the trader kindly. "Come, tell me more about yourself." Anu told the cloth trader about what she knew, how she was found and picked up by her new parents in the forest during the war, and now she had grown up to that age of 12 with them. She told her the lady she was staying with regarded her as a hindrance in the family, and that was why she was now about to be married off to an elderly man of 42 years who was 30 years older than her. The woman looked at her with pity. She knew her neighbor had lost a child during the war, but never knew where and how it had all happened. She looked at the young girl again. She was exactly a replica of that her neighbor. And then she asked, "When is the marriage taking place?" "In a week's time," she replied, looking at the trader concernedly. "Well, can you come back to my store the market day?" she asked. "I would like to tell the woman you look like about you." The surprised and excited Anu said she would come. The trader was very happy. She asked Anu her name, and she replied, "Anu." She was called Anu in her new parents' home, while her real name from her biological parents was Oloma. So she went back home with the clothes she had bought and kept on praying and wishing the lady the trader had talked about would turn out to be her real mother. She did not disclose the matter to her parents. And the next market day, when she was through with the household chores, she headed for the market. The cloth seller, on her part on getting home, went straight to meet Ngbechi in her house. The rich Ngbechi was surprised to see her because the lady barely came to visit her. She was always busy with her trading. Ngbechi welcomed her, and luckily her husband was at home when the woman came to see her. After exchanging pleasantries, the trader told them about Anu, and they were very excited at the news. For 12 years they had lost their daughter. I pray it turns out to be a good news to us. Ngbechi kept praying with him. She told them she had told Anu to come to her store the next market day. That was the trader. At last they concluded that Ngbechi would go to the market on that day too so that they could both verify the whole thing and see if Anu was their missing child. On that market day, Mbechi was shaking like a leaf. She was praying, Lord, please let it be. I found my daughter. She will recognize her anywhere, because her daughter had a birthmark behind her left ear, a dark, large birthmark that was hidden behind her left ear. When Anu got to the store, she saw the cloth seller had arrived and was very happy. She greeted her and then noticed another woman was sitting very close to the cloth seller and greeted her also. Mbechi said, "Good morning, beautiful. My daughter had a birthmark and a dark, large birthmark behind her left ear. If it is there, I will then know you are my daughter. And if it's not there, it means you are not my daughter, that I got lost during the war." Anu's heart sank. She never knew anything about birthmark on her body. The cloth trader came out and took a look at her left ear and shouted aloud, "She has a birthmark there." "What?" Mbechi exclaimed excitedly, coming out to check if it was real. "Yes, my dear," replied the trader. "Take a look. A dark, large birthmark is behind her left ear." Mbechi began to cry. She looked and she saw that there was really a dark, large birthmark. She had found her missing daughter. The cloth seller quickly packed up her clothes and closed her shop for the day. They both followed Anu to her foster parents' home. Ozioma was already abusing Anu as she was coming into the house before she realized Anu was with two women who were following her behind. The women were surprised at the ill treatment Anu was being given by the foster mother. But the women did not say anything. They kept quiet. They knew why they had come. After much said and done, explanations of where the child was left and picked up was done, it was realized that the woman Mbechi was the real mother of Anu. At last, mother and child were reunited, thanks to the cloth trader. "My daughter's name used to be Oloma. That was the name I and her father gave to her," Mbechi told them. "Now, after all settled, what about the arranged marriage?" the woman asked Mbechi. Ozioma said Anu had already been arranged to marry the new husband, but Mbechi was shocked by it all and stood firmly against it. She left and returned with her husband to see Ozioma and her husband Enabi. Mbechi and her husband compensated the couple financially, and with joy and happiness, they took their daughter back home after settling the man that would have married Anu. So they started calling their daughter Oloma again and treated her kindly and fairly at home, showering her with all the love she had missed all these years. Several years later, Oloma became a very wealthy lady in the community that did a lot to help the less privileged, including Ozioma and her children. Despite all the evil she had received from their hands, one thing made Oloma to forgive Ozioma, and that was picking her from the forest and giving her life, making her to survive. Otherwise, she would have died. That was what made her to forgive Ozioma. That is life for you. You never know what the future holds. Please subscribe, like, and share the video. Press the notification bell so that you'll be the first to get my videos when I release a new one. Thanks for watching.